You know what, Tarun, I think people are going to be bouncing in, but since it's only a 30-minute presentation, maybe we get started. The good news is they're all being recorded, so anybody who catches any part of it can always go back and replay.
Exactly. All right, cool. So I guess you can get us started.
I'll kick it off. You got it.
Little intro.
You got it. Hey, welcome everybody. Like I said, this is a 30-minute presentation. If any of you have been on any presentation I've done in the past, you're wondering how in the world I can limit myself to talking to just 30 minutes. And it is because Tarun, my colleague, is going to do most of the talking today. I am going to do the About SpearMC slides because that's my thing. I'm going to fly through them so that we have most of the time dedicated to the topic that you're all here to hear about, which is automated testing and the SpearMC PTF accelerators. So Tarun, let's go ahead and dive in. I'll do the introductions and then Tarun will take it from there. He'll go through what PTF is. He'll go through SpearMC's solution, the testing grounds, talk about how we implement the tool, and then leave, hopefully, time for Q&A. Because Tarun will be in the slides in detail, I'm going to be monitoring the chat window. So if you do have questions that you are thinking of and you want answered throughout, I'll have that open, I'll monitor, and I'll pull Tarun in when needed. All right, so go ahead and use that chat window. And if you want to raise your hand at the end when we get to the Q&A, I think I can turn on the ability for you to ask your questions verbally. So if you want to wait till the end, that's fine. But don't feel like you have to. I'll be monitoring the chat window. Okay. That's me. That's Tarun. We are very happy to put our contact information. So literally they're there because we are available to you. Email or even text or call. That lower guy down there is the key. I'm just so. But together, I think we make a formidable team. And please do reach out to us at any time. That's how you get a hold of us. All right. We are a Oracle Platinum partner, SpearMC, dedicated in the PeopleSoft space. We have been for a very long time. We love the PeopleSoft product. And we love the fact that our competitors are leaving and chasing the cloud dream and competing against each other for that right. We're happy to serve the very loyal customer and user base of PeopleSoft and continue to do so. These are the offerings that we have. These are the cities that we're in. We actually have customers in other parts of the world. So we have a global presence from an implementation and customer perspective. Our employee focus is across the continental United States. We actually have a few that we work with in Hawaii as well. So we are everywhere. And we are very happy that Gartner has recognized our PeopleSoft presence and recognized the work that we're doing in that space. So this is a new achievement that we are incredibly proud about, and now shows up in our little logos down at the bottom of our PowerPoint deck. The thing I want to talk about in services, look at that center. This is the heart of everything we do is PeopleSoft. So we may fringe into OBIEE, Hyperion, these things that branch out, but it's all because of our customers that start with PeopleSoft. Training and testing are all extensions of the PeopleSoft product line and the heart of SpearMC. That is across all pillars, by the way. One of our major areas of growth has been our managed services practice. There's lots of ways you can describe managed services, and essentially I would describe it as whatever our customers need. It is subscription services to help you manage, support, and work with your PeopleSoft investment. And in particular today, what Tarun will talk about is our testing as a service, as a component, one of our fastest growing pieces of our fastest growing business line is testing as a service within managed services. Very important to learn how that's done and how it can benefit your organization. That is the bulk of the remaining presentation here. In fact, the next slide is just another descriptor of how managed services can be many things to many organizations. And that's how we built our solution, to really be super flexible to meet our individual customers' needs. With that said, I'm going to go on mute. I'm going to turn off my video, and I'm going to let Tarun take the show from here. Again, I'll watch the chat window. Go ahead and keep those questions coming in there, and I'll roll them into Tarun. Thanks.
All right. Thanks, Randy. Wow, yeah, you kept it just a little over 5 minutes. So that means the rest of our time is going to be spent talking about PTF and how we can make PTF easier to use, just, better for you. So if you don't know what PTF is PeopleSoft Test Framework. It's been around for a while. Let's just give you a short introduction here. If I click the right thing, there we go. PTF is really built for test engineers and developers. So it delivers features like automated test execution. It gives you the ability to organize your tests into test cases and to edit those test cases so that you can keep a library of potential testing scenarios, so that when you do want to kick off a test cycle, ideally, it's as easy as kicking off a couple of shell tests. And these shell tests let you link together individual tests to test end-to-end processes. So, for example, let's take financials. If you were to consider an end-to-end process, like creating a requisition and then having that go through the PO process, take it through AP, and have it go all the way to GL, that is an end-to-end process that you can automate with PTF to try and test it anytime you want to do any sort of regression testing. It also offers some maintenance reports and test upgrade tools. So, for example, I know a lot of people lately have been thinking about going to 859 stuff for their tools upgrades. Whenever you do one of those tools upgrades, PTF should take it in stride, thanks to those test upgrade tools. And those maintenance reports will let you know what it is that broke, if anything broke, by basically taking a change report, running it and comparing it with the scripts, and then giving you a report of what scripts have been affected by those changes. But I do want to emphasize that it is kind of built with a slightly more technical angle, but not super unapproachable for functional folks. It's just missing a couple of things here and there, and that's what our testing grounds tool is supposed to sort of fill those gaps. But here's a quick demo of what it looks like. It's not a quick demo, so I will be kind of skipping through it a little bit, and I'll give you guys a little voiceover as I walk through it. But this is what the tool itself looks like. You can see that I just opened up the test recorder. I'm now going to open up Internet Explorer. One of the limitations of PTF is that it does require Internet Explorer to record. However, for playback, you can use Chrome, you can use Internet Explorer, you can use Firefox. We generally go with Chrome, and that's what I'll be using in this case too. So you can see here, I just click the record button, and now I'm just going to go through the steps that I would usually take in this test. And this is the part where I'm going to kind of fast forward a bit. But you can see here, I'm doing my navigation. I'm pulling up the create requisition page. I'm entering my details for this requisition. And this is in a demo environment. So I'm basically doing everything I normally would. And I'm just going to slow down here so you can take a look here. So up here in this box is how you can see what PTF is doing at any point in a recording. And you can see here, it just picked up the number that I put in for the quantity, for example. And it associates all of that test data that you're entering with the PeopleSoft field as well. What that means is that hopefully, as you upgrade or do a selective adoption, whatever it might be, as things change in your PeopleSoft application, PTF should be able to keep up. Even if a field moves on a page or something like that, it'll know that I enter this bit of test data in this field rather than just in this location on a page. So here I've finished recording, and after I finish recording, I basically get a bunch of steps. And each one of these steps is either entering, editing a field, whatever it might be. And now I just do my cleanup. So the rest of this is basically what a PTF developer's job looks like. So now that we've recorded, now we have to turn this plain recorded script into something a little bit sleeker, a little bit more polished, so that we can really execute our tests quicker and more efficiently. So I just removed a bunch of steps that I didn't need, including all of my navigation steps. The way that PTF works, it uses page prompt generally to navigate to a page, which means, the short of it means that you don't have to go through navigation generally, unless you're specifically testing that, which cuts out a bunch of time, makes it a lot faster. So I'm going to kind of fast forward through the rest until I do my playback. So here I'm just doing my job, cleaning up this test, and I've prepared a test user, and these are my list of test users. This one's called test. I'm selecting Chrome, and I'm actually choosing to run this test in the background. So you'll see what that looks like here. I click accept, and I have run the test here. This is the test log. Because we're running it in the background, you're not going to see anything happen with any clicking or anything. Instead, the test log is basically just going to populate as it runs through the test in the background. This is something you can only do with Chrome. The downside of running in the background is that you can't capture screenshots, but the plus side is that it's way faster. So kind of do a little bit of measuring there, figure out what works best for your team. I love the idea of running in the background though, so I try to do that where I can. So here we go. I've run through the test basically. I think it's just about to finish right here. And then I'll get my log, including my result, which should say pass. So there we go. So at this point, the test had run. I have a shortened log here because I chose to set verbose. Here we can see verbose is set to no. As you can see in all my other ones, I set verbose to yes. And this one I chose to set it to no because it just looks neater on the log. But if you set it to yes, you actually get every single step of the test recorded in a log, which is super handy, especially if you're working with functional users that want to look at the logs. They just want to double check and make sure that we actually touched all of the fields that we wanted to during the test. But that is the PTF sort of tool in, how long was that? Like 5 minutes. Obviously, there's a lot more to it than what I just showed you, but I think that's enough to start to see where some gaps might exist and how the testing grounds tool can fill those gaps. So the testing grounds tool is actually a bolt-on solution that Spears built. So it's all pure people code, SQL, all that jazz, nice and simple. It's just like any other bolt-on you may have worked with. As I'll explain during the sort of installation process later, it's just as easy to work with when you're installing or moving between environments. But the reason why we built it in the first place was because the PTF tool is great for creating, maintaining, and running test libraries. I think where the biggest gap exists is in the reporting and sort of online functionality of PTF, including editing and stuff like that. That sort of functionality is what the testing grounds provides. Specifically, the first use case that we thought of with testing grounds was providing logs. So you saw that log in the video earlier. That was the log inside the tool itself. The upside of that log is that, as long as you have access to the tool, anybody can view that log. However, not everybody has access to that tool. Access to PTF is maintained through just like standard PeopleSoft security framework. But not everybody, you don't always want to give out access to PTF. It can be kind of a pain to do that. So what if you could save those logs to PDF files instead? Nice and easy. You can share that with whoever needs to review your logs, and you can save it for later in case you need it for auditing purposes. You need it as proof of testing, so you can sign off and move on to your next, your next thing in your project. So that specifically happens to be the evidence reports part of the testing grounds. After building that, we sort of were like, okay, there's a lot more stuff that we can do to help PTF. So some of that stuff is dashboards. So as you execute scripts, if you are somebody who you don't want to log into the tool every time. Instead, you just open up PIA, look at it online. You've got a dashboard with each of your folders in PTF, which we generally associate with modules. So you can basically look at each module and see the status of testing in this test cycle. Error screenshots. So in the logs, as PTF runs, it can take screenshots of errors, or it can also manually take screenshots if you insert it into the script. Keeping track of those screenshots can be a super helpful way to sort of express test evidence to functional users, because you don't have to know field names or anything like that. Instead, you just look at the picture and see if it looks exactly like you expected. So to handle that, all of our online reporting tools incorporate screenshots as part of the log. That includes when you're viewing the scripts online. That includes when you generate PDF reports. That includes when you go to the dashboard and you drill down to the test and you look at the status of that test run, you'll see those screenshots. Data management. So as I said earlier, PTF allows you to kind of set up test cases and things like that so that you can manage your test scenarios. Now you don't have to log into PTF to actually manage those test scenarios. Instead, if you have the test scenario already existing and you just need to edit a couple of fields, you can do that online with our tool. The rest of the stuff I think I've pretty much covered now, and let's take a look at what it sort of looks like. At a high level, these are all of the things that sort of fall under the testing grounds. We've got these module metrics with the dashboards. We've got the ability to drill down to a specific test case and see the status of it. We've got our operational dashboard, which lets you sort of organize test cycles, test evidence reporting, which was sort of the core of it originally, but has grown into this. And then our gold library, which I haven't talked about very much because it used to be sort of separate from the testing grounds. And at this point, we can consider all of these as, kind of PTF accelerators, things that make your life easier as you implement PTF for the first time, re-implementing it, augmenting whatever you've got already, whatever it might be. This should make your life easier and faster. So part of that is the gold library, which is our list of scripts that work in demo, which you can take to make updates to so they work in your environment. Those updates usually look like updating the test data or adding steps to match your customizations, removing steps because maybe you don't do things that we do in demo, and then linking them together to make shells. So this really takes out the first step of the recording of these individual scripts. Hopefully you don't have to record any of them from scratch, and instead you can just make edits to these existing scripts. So just a quick look at what the tool itself looks like. Got another video here, which I'm also going to zoom through because I'd like to leave time for us to answer any questions at the end. But so here, this is what the initial dashboard looks like the as you're running scripts kind of dashboard. So I've opened up a folder. You can look at any one of your scripts. You use a little action drop down. You can take a look at the detailed log or update the test data for any one of these scripts. In this case, I'm going to look at one of my errored scripts and I'm going to pull up the log for that. So I've got the log here. I'm going to scroll all the way down because what I really want to see is the screenshots for the error. So here you can see that in the log, it's listed the message, the error message. But also important, we've got this link to a screenshot, which I click, boom, pulls up the screenshot. To zoom in because I ran this test on like an ultra wide monitor, open it up on a smaller monitor. But anyways, as you can see, screenshots all there, and very useful when you're trying to figure out why a test failed and you weren't there when it was running. So what about that other link, the update test data? So here we've got a specific test case for this test with all this test data. That includes, the account numbers, the foreign amount that you can see there. You can see the source, the ledger group, the descriptions. All of these are fields that you can edit online instead now, rather than editing them in the tool. Edit it online, click save, and then ask your developer to run the scripts again whenever they can. And it's just one more way for people to communicate between, whoever might be handling the functional part of your testing or might be doing the actual PTF development. It's just supposed to help that communication flow a little bit better. We've got the operational dashboard, and this is where kind of our newest development is occurring. We're working to make it so that you can define test cycles. So if you can clearly define test cycles online, that includes, listing out individual tests that you want to run, and then giving them descriptions, identifying, what module they're testing, what execution profile they're associated with. Basically, you end up coming up with a full test plan online, which anybody can view and edit based on security. But most importantly, once you've defined that test plan online, you should be able to click that Run Auto Script button right there. What that will do is generate a batch script that you can just run after that, which will have all of these scripts basically in order and will run with just one click using the batch script. Basically, we're taking the automation one step further, hopefully. So yeah, there we go. So you can see, I just opened up the batch script. It works like any other batch script works. You open it, click it. The one requirement is that you have PTF installed on your computer. But as long as you have PTF installed on your computer, you're good to go. So the test evidence tool, this was sort of the original piece of the testing grounds. Here, I'm going to pull up a test that I ran, I think pretty recently. I think here I was trying to figure out what the date was or something like that. Anyways, so here you set your cycle start date and end date. The cycle is in reference to your test cycle. So once you've picked the dates for your test cycle, you're going to identify if you want to select a specific folder, a specific log result that you're looking for, or even filter by a specific test name. In this case, I'm just going to look for anything that passed between these dates. And I've got quite a few tests here. I think I've got a couple. And I can choose to either create a report from all of these. And there are 3 buttons right at the top that help me generate a report. I can generate 3 levels of report as well, depending on how much details I would like in my report. Or you can just do what I'm doing here, which is scroll through it online, look at screenshots if you need to, all that stuff. It's all accessible online. Everything that you can see in the PTF log in the tool, you should be able to access online as well. So I'm going to generate a detailed report, and this is what one of those PDFs looks like. As you can see, it's like a BI Publisher report that we've created, includes screenshots, includes all the steps, and is formatted. This formatting, if there's something you're specifically looking for, it's a BI Publisher report, so we can definitely, if there's some piece of information you're really looking for in your testing, we can take a look at it. In the past, what we've done is we've created one where it was just screenshots for one of our clients. So basically, whatever reporting you're looking for after your testing, hopefully we can provide that for you. So that was a video of the testing dashboard. Here I have some screenshots in case that video didn't work. Gotta be prepared. I'm just gonna run through these. I've put this slideshow in the files for this session. So you can always take a look at that, download that, and these screenshots will show up on that. So we've got the drill down to folder that we talked about earlier. And doesn't want to go to the next slide. One sec while it loads.
And while it's buffering, I'll remind everyone, if there are questions, there's, I think, 4 minutes left, type them in the chat. I'm monitoring. We do have the option, if you want, to raise your hand. And if you raise your hand, I'll see it and I can unmute you. If you are so bold that you want your voice heard, we'd be happy to hear you. But go ahead and use the chat or raise your hand, and we can work it that way. It's like we're still buffering, Tarun, so.
Yeah, wow. I guess I can just kind of talk in the meantime and explain what the slides should say. Actually, yeah, whatever. So you should be able to see the slides on the actual meeting, files as well. But all I had left was to talk about the actual implementation process for, installing the testing grounds tool, for example. And thankfully, it's so easy, I really don't need slides to explain it. It's basically 3 steps. Your first step, you're going to migrate an app designer project into your environment of choice, whatever your first environment might be, whether it's dev or something like that. There we go. I'll just show it like this. So you migrate, you secure, and then you verify. And that's it, 3 steps. Just like installing most bolt-ons. Nothing crazy because it's all built using PeopleSoft, people code. It's all built in a way that should work with whatever your database is, and all of that. So once you migrate your app designer project in, you build all your, objects, all that stuff. You secure it using the standard PeopleSoft security framework. We have a couple of roles and permission lists that we have already built, but of course you can sort of modify this to be whatever you want. We've seen people who have sort of added these role permission lists just onto the PTF roles because it kind of makes sense. They go together, or you could make your own. And then verify. Super easy. Something we can help with either on a call, just make sure that everything's installed properly, or we can even provide you a PTF script that just, runs through it, make sure that it works. And that's it for implementing testing grounds. It's really that simple to set it up. The maybe more complicated part is often in implementing PTF itself. So for PTF, let's see if I can zoom in a little bit. No, I can't. Anyways, for PTF, our general process is to follow these sort of steps that I've got here in a circle, because it really is kind of a circular process. So we usually start with our demo scripts, or what we've called our PTF starter kit here. We validated that those work in your demo environment. We generate a list of Excel scripts. So it's just Excel versions of our test scripts that have all the steps listed on them. And then we edit those. We use those to build our tests themselves. And then we sort of work back and forth with you to make sure that those work for you. And then you've got your PTF library. And I think, Randy, were you about to say something?
Only that we're out of time, and I hate to cut you off there, Tarun, because you were on a roll. But I don't have any questions yet. We do have our emails and our mobile device numbers in the file. Tarun, I think you said you posted the file out in the files section on the site. So that's how you get a hold of us. I think they will cut us off at the right here at this time. Tarun, great job. Thank you for detail. And everyone, thank you for attending. It is a pleasure to see how many of you are still at it toward the end of the conference. we appreciate your attention, and certainly reach out to us if you have any additional questions. We'll be glad to give you an answer.
If you want me to go through this with you again, send me a text, give me a phone call, send me an email. I'm happy to explain anything on here that I had to rush through to get to time. Okay.
All righty. Thank you all for your attention. We'll have a great rest of the conference. There's a few hours that are left, and we'll see you at the next one.